You're watching TVC News. Today is the 2020 World Refugee Day. It comes amidst a global public health crisis, the coronavirus pandemic. The United Nations agency says this year's celebration is to recognize the contributions of refugees and other persons of interest towards the ending the COVID-19 crisis. This year's theme is Every Action Counts, and the agency says the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent anti-racism protests have gone a long way to create consciousness of the need for a more inclusive and equal world. The UN says 1 out of every 100 persons in the world had fled their homes, making the total number of about 80 million in the world. Here in Nigeria, the number of internally displaced persons who form part of persons of concern stands at over 2 million alone. Moya Thomas tells us more about the situation in Nigeria.
Every minute, at least 20 people are forced to leave everything behind and escape for their lives. They escape from war situations, terrorism, persecution, and even effects of climate change. Irrespective of the type of disaster, natural or man-made, their displacement makes them refugees as defined by the United Nations 1951 Refugee Convention. Statistics say 1 out of every 100 persons in the world had fled their homes, making the total number about 80 million in the world. In Nigeria, the number of internally displaced persons who form part of the persons of concern stands at over 2 million. There are about 58,000 Cameroonian refugees in the southeast of Nigeria and 2,340 urban refugees, while a total of 1,222 asylum seekers are in Lagos, Ogun, FCT and Kano states. The conflict in the northeast has also displaced about 292,000 Nigerians who are currently seeking refuge and asylum in Niger, Cameroon and Chad. Despite the challenging situation refugees and displaced persons find themselves all over the world, they have made their actions count by contributing immensely to the fight against COVID-19. Whether as frontline workers in the health and food sector, or as volunteers, or helping by making face masks. The challenges brought about by the outbreak of the coronavirus public health crisis remains a major concern for the United Nations and other partnering agencies as efforts are geared to prevent the spread of the pandemic into IDP camps in Nigeria.
For you, but it's really insignificant. What we have done at the start of the pandemic is to step up prevention and response mechanisms. We have, as I mentioned in my remarks, we have stepped up by establishing what we call water and sanitation and health committees throughout the communities. So we work with the communities themselves, the persons of concern and their host communities to step up prevention and response activities, information education campaigns.
In the social investment programs, we have programs towards supporting poor and vulnerable. We have programs towards education, to schools to teach. This can also be applied to the communities where these refugees are, where they send their children to public schools, so they will benefit from these programs.
Also of importance is the dignity of refugees, their reintegration, and ensuring an end to conflict that leads to displacements.
The best way to restore the dignities of our persons of concern is by resettling them with a view to making them self-reliant. We have gone far in this regard. We have approached some state governors, and in principle, we have been allocated some land. To be specific, we requested for about 50 hectares of land.
The conflict, especially those that are cross-border and within our region, diplomacy also, it's ongoing. And you know that there's the joint multinational joint task force, where some of the issues are criminal when they engage, when you consider terrorist actions.
For about 21 years now, the 20th of June has been used to reflect on the plight of people of concern and all persons with vulnerabilities. This commemoration is also a reminder to every country on the importance of implementing the Global Compact for Refugees, which aims to restore the dignity of refugees and other internally displaced persons. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.